Wholeness. Welcome to Notes of Najwa Rashida. It's been a long week. Oh my god. Almost forgot to post today, so I'm starting one of two papers, and one's due in a couple of days. I'm going to start tonight and turn it in Sunday, or no, hopefully it should be done by tomorrow. And then let's see. Yeah, so I'm a bit tired. I'm always about being authentic and being real, and these videos aren't about being all aesthetically pleasing. I know my energy level's probably been a bit low this past few messages because a lot of my energy goes towards excuse me, so many other areas right now, but I don't even know what topic I'll be on, or I'll be uploading today and talking about, so I'm just gonna kind of go with the flow. It's been a good day. I actually will say this: my students have surprised me this week. We underestimate the true nature, I feel like, of human beings. We underestimate and we overestimate. We overestimate in the areas of, I will say, the illusion of separation, right? We have all of these roles that we need to fulfill. We have these titles, we have these positions at our jobs and our careers. We're mothers, we're fathers, parents, siblings, children, sisters, brothers, cousins. We're bosses, we are employees, we are all kinds of things that we have to fluctuate. And that's all part of a reality. But then we lose ourselves in it. We overestimate and we forget the humanness, that we have our own internal universe inside ourselves. And then we underestimate. We underestimate the inexperienced. We underestimate the those that fit in a certain narrative, right? And I found myself doing that. I work in a type of environment where it is very challenging. And I think the middle school aged kids get their own school apart from elementary and high school because it is probably one of the most pivotal and most challenging developmental stages in a human life. I will have to say this. Being between the age of 12 and 15 are incredibly difficult because you're too young to make certain adult decisions, but you're too old to not know the difference between right or wrong. And that has to do with the lack of development of the frontal lobe. Okay, they say that by the age of between 25 and 27, your frontal lobe is finally developed into a mature adult, is when you can make well thought out decisions. You can think rationally and logically. And it's a challenge for middle school, teaching preteens and teaching young teenagers. But I have been humbled once again in my judgment. Today kids were asking me questions out of the blue. All right, I had a whole small group of students ask me, what is God to me? What is my relationship with God? Do I believe in a God? Do I believe in reincarnation? Like some really deep philosophical stuff. And legally, we can't really talk about that in class. We can talk about it, but we can't enforce our own personal beliefs. Like, this is what I believe and I'm going to tell you kind of thing, and incorporate that in our teaching. It's supposed to be secular because there is a division, written in the Constitution. There is separation of church and state, and that has to be respected. But one student asked me, she said, which I told her I couldn't give her my most authentic answer because I have to respect the policy, right, of this district. But she asked me, she said, I understand that there are certain schools, especially in our district, literally, okay, I'm paraphrasing, but this is what she asked. She said, I understand that there are, in certain elementary schools, that they're teaching gender identity, that they are, bringing up sexual identity and teaching that. She goes, my friend's sister is coming home and talking about these things. She literally asked this of me and the other teacher in the room. She said, how is it fair if we're not supposed to talk about religion in class? We're not supposed to talk about different, like, faiths and spirituality. Why is it okay to bring up and talk about sexuality and gender identity? Do I have an answer to that? Of course I do. Of course I do. I have my own viewpoints, my own interpretation of, my own philosophy on the social, cultural shifts that are taking place in the Western world that I live in. So I had to be very careful. I had to filter a lot of what I wanted to say, and with all due respect, I told her, I said, I cannot go into this, but I understand your question. And with this group of kids, especially with the populace that I work with, these are not the typical, what you would imagine, sweet, respecting, normal self-esteem, wanting to do good in the world type of kid, like type of vibe that these kids are bringing in. They're bringing in the real. They're bringing in reality. They're bringing in the weight of their community and the pressure and that they have to experience in their community, in their family structure, in their social economic challenges that they have to face. They're bringing all of that in. So it's very difficult to, in special education, to work through the wall that these kids build up at 13, 14, 15 years old. Very, very, very challenging. Elementary kids are wide open because you're twice their size. They know that you know more than them. They trust you. And they are just open. But then you have that growth developmental stage where they begin to develop reasoning. They begin to develop into their bodies. Their bodies are changing. And then they're slowly growing into that, into a young adult, right? And that takes about 5-6 years from the age of 12, 13, 14 years old. So I was just flabbergasted, like I was humbled in my judgments, because I found myself judging them. It's not easy having to reparent a lot of these kids. These kids are so overconfident that they know everything because they have these devices. They have cell phones. They have access to so much information. They come in cocky as hell. They know everything. They can tell you anything. You don't need to tell them anything. You need to respect them first before they respect you. They have access to adult themed information that they don't have the capacity to really truly process. They don't have the know-how. They don't even have the know-abouts to experience a lot of what they're absorbing from the digital world. So that's what I'm facing. Part of what I'm facing, right? They have their home life stuff, but when these kids brought that up in the middle of science class, I was like, wow. And it came from the students that are probably had really bad behavioral problems, like disruptive during lecture every single day. I mean, it's like I ask myself, like, do you have no home training? Like, you don't know how to speak to an adult, right? It is just, but today it was amazing. My jaw was open. I'm like, these kids are they have so much more going on in their minds. I can't even imagine having that much access to information that these kids have at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. Like, the internet was just taking off in around 2001, 2002. Really, I didn't have my own cell phone until, like, I had a little really cheap cell phone, but I didn't use it, but I didn't have my real actual cell phone until like I was 22 years old. Like, prepaid. I still pay prepaid. Why pay $100 and $200 a month for a cell phone bill? That's ridiculous. Um, I'm just I yeah, that was amazing. That was a highlight of this week in teaching, and then I had another really good teaching moment as well. But these kids are like, like, what is God to you? And so I flipped it when one of the kids, he asked me, I do believe in God. Like, who is God to you? And I said, well, what is your definition of God? He literally said, God is the all. I'm like, and this is a kid that would curse at me, would just be just belligerent, just very rude. I mean, coming in, and when he said, "Oh, God is like, He is all. He's the all being. He is the." I was like, "Well, huh?" And then they brought up the Bible, and they started asking stuff like, do I believe in the rapture? Um and I said, according to Christian faith, because I can't say, yes, I believe this or I believe that. I had to be very, very careful and cautious. There was a kid who took a picture, because kids, they ban cell phones, but kids can walk around with iPads, so they still have access to digital devices. And so a kid like took a picture, I think, of notes, but the other teacher made him bring up his iPad to make sure he wasn't recording our conversation, which he wasn't. But she just double checked, because I mean, it could be a lawsuit. Like, how dare you talk about such and such, topic and stuff. I don't bring up politics, religion, or sex. I do not. I do not. I always redirect those types of conversations, because just to protect my job and my license, and protect my colleagues. And it's all supposed to be very neutral, and we're not supposed to lean left or right. We're not supposed to talk about elections and stuff like that. However, with that being said, and I respect that policy, I still, like, these kids want to talk about it. Like, they really want to talk about it. They want to talk about real life stuff, right? Like, we brought up genetic diseases, and then the same kid that asked me about God, before we got on into this philosophical, not discussion, but questions that they were asking, he made a really horrible comment about AIDS and HIV, right? And he kind of scuffed, and so I brought up, my medical experience and personal experience with working with people who had HIV/AIDS. And so, that got their ears perked up. And then they just started opening up and started talking about bringing up all these questions. And I'm looking at the teacher like, whoa, like, these aren't just typical, these aren't just kids growing up in the hood. These, and in poverty and all the shit that they have to go through, right? That they can't talk about at school. It's like they have their own mind. And then it had me thinking back when I was 13 and 14 and the deep thoughts that I would have that I didn't feel comfortable sharing with, because you're told this is who God is. This is what right is. This is wrong. This is right. This is black. This is white. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like religion will just put you in a box and you can't question anything. Otherwise, you're going to hell. And I'm like, oh, there's just me, like these are just this is part of their developmental stage that they're just awakening to, because they're going to have more questions. They're going to have more questions about life. And I can't, again, like I said before, I can't imagine living in such an age with so much information, and you have to decipher what's real, what's bullshit, what's fabricated, what's glossed over, what's buried, what is authentic, right? I told them this. I did say you have to be honest with yourself. Self-honesty is a very difficult thing, to be honest about you. But I told them that once you become when you become honest with the self, that is when you can discover your true authentic self, your true authentic voice. And people will respect you for that. When people become when they're honest about the self, they become self-aware. When through self-awareness, you become authentic. When you're authentic, you begin to live with integrity. And that is what I don't know. And today is a full moon too. So of course, weird little things like that are going to happen. But my perception of these, especially these two young men, changed like that. Because I'm like, when you're trying to develop a relationship or rapport with someone and it's just not going how you think it should go, and then you're just like, fine, I give up. No, I'm not ever going to give up on a student, because every day is a new day, and with every new day there's a new opportunity to reach them. And I have to remind myself that, because you don't know what kids are going through. You don't know what people are going through. I had a follow up with a colleague, and he just wanted to touch base, because he's young and very new to teaching, and he comes to me to process certain things. And I was telling him, I'm like, you have to understand, you have to be aware of the type of battles that you choose to fight, because not every battle is meant to be fought, and not every war is meant to be won. You have to choose wisely. And there's a big difference between being smart, being intelligent, and being wise. It takes time to develop all of those attributes. Wise comes with a lot of time and a lot of failures and a lot of mistakes. Intelligence comes through study and through gathering of information, and a lot of discipline and focus. Being smart is kind of like common sense, and some kids are very intelligent but not very smart. Other students I found are very wise but not very intelligent. And it's a wide spectrum, No one's got it all figured out. There are people out there who are genius They're just genius, have the genius mind, but they don't have a lot of street smarts and they get taken advantage of. Then you have people who have exceptional street smarts. They're just smart. Their common sense is like amazing, but they're not very good at study. They're not very good at retaining information. They're not very good at analyzing information, developing the intellect. You have people that are incredibly intelligent and knowledgeable on certain things. They go to school, they get a master's degree, but they're not very wise. So, then you have people who are all three and they're very rare. But I will find that for me, I feel like I've always carried wisdom within me, and I do find myself, I feel like I am intelligent, but there are some parts of myself that lacks common sense and that lacks street smarts, because I'm can be kind of vulnerable and just I see the good in people. I see the good in all people, and that's gotten me in some trouble. So, I just, when you see good in people because you see good in yourself, that's not how people perceive you. And I think it takes a certain amount of being smart to know that. And my dad always said there's a difference between being smart and wise, right? You can have a smart mouth, it can be very witty, but are you applying intelligence? Applied intelligence is wisdom, right? When you can apply knowledge in the right time, in the right place. So I just wanted to share that with you. It was humbling. I accept it. I'm tired and I'm ready to go to bed. Ah, man. I thought I'd write this paper, but I'm like, they said, professors said that like when you're done with when you're on your master's degree, it's like you'll be amazed at how much extra time you have in your life. Because it just seems like I'm constantly working on some kind of document. Like, I'm not even joking. Like every day I'm working on an IEP case or professional development or a paper or a quiz or some other document. It's just nonstop. But it will have an ending. It's not going to go on forever. I already feel like this semester's gone by so fast. But yeah, I'm just tired. I just want to make sure I'm consistent with these videos. But that's what I learned today. I'm very, this is why I love what I do. Because it's so, there's so many pros and cons with my job right now. Meaning like things that I really, really like, really light me up, and others I'm like, it makes no sense. It just doesn't fit my nature. And I want that the older that I'm getting, and yes, my birthday is coming up. I'll be 36 in a couple of days. Or a few days. And I'll say like, I want to find my niche when it comes to being a teacher and honing in on my craft as, like learning the art of teaching. And I want it to truly be in alignment of who I am and what my values are, not trying to fit myself in a mold. I don't think the higher power, I don't think source wants me to do that. I don't think spirit wants me to do that any longer, like trying to fit myself in this box, this story of how I should be, when it comes to education or my artwork or my music. And that's just, I just feel like that's the next thing I'm entering into, within this next year of, you know, because I intend to graduate in 2026. So it's like, I feel like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I feel like I've been yawning for 7 days straight, okay? I even yawned during a training I had last night. Oh my God. Or was it Wednesday? I don't even remember anymore. Um, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. I really, as challenging as it is so freaking hard, but it's so rewarding to like see what I'm seeing with some of these kids. Like some of them, I'm just like, they kids will surprise you, man. And I'm so happy I've worked with kids in all different stages of their development. And when I used to nanny this family, the youngest at the time was 2 years old. And that's one of my favorite ages to observe and to be around because, I mean, number one, they're very difficult to raise at that time because you literally are trying to keep them from accidentally killing themselves. It is so dangerous because they have to develop, like safety protocols, right? Like, oh, if I touch that, I'm going to get burned. Oh, if I go over that step, like if I jump off this, that's going to hurt. They have to learn. They have to cry, maybe get a few stitches. But that experience working with the 2 year old at the time, which he's not a 2 year old anymore. He should probably be in kinder now. But it was so amazing, like seeing him taste things and watching him, like explore, going outside, or when he wanted to get his needs met, he was cold, he would raise his arms up and I'd pick him up and I'd press him up against my body so he can get warm and snuggled up, um and it's just so awesome. Like I really, and I get asked this a lot, do you have kids, do you want kids? I don't. It is a personal choice, and my lifestyle just doesn't. It's just not. I don't feel like it's an alignment for me. Never say never, but it. I'm pretty set on this belief and this choice from myself. In my life. But it's working with younger human beings is very rewarding. Working with all human beings is such a rewarding thing for me, outside of my artistic self. So yeah, I mean, right now, not music, my master's graduate studies taking up a lot of time. So, you know, I would say hopefully during the summer I'll have more time for my music. I'm not quitting my music. It's just I have to prioritize my education and my career right now. But I touched my harp and I touched my guitar, and I try to at least once a day, no matter how short the time frame is. But I'm tired. I gotta get off. Sorry. Okay. Good night. May this message find you well and whole. And tell me, or you can share if you'd like, um, and reflect on this message, how you've underestimated or overestimated. The overestimation, I think, has to do with upholding the standard, the status quo, upholding what the normalities, the rules and expectations and procedures and protocols. But and that I've learned over time, I don't do that as much anymore. I don't put people on pedestals. People are what people are, what people are. And human beings are interdimensional. We have the universe within us. We are walking universes. So I don't put people on a pedestal. I don't care who they are. I don't care how much money they make. I don't care what they look like. I don't care their experience. I don't care about their age. I don't care about their status. It doesn't matter to me. Like working at the hospital and working with dead and dying people and sick people and having to deal with, prepping dead bodies and, patients not coming back for after CPR and they just kind of cross over and they die. Like being around death a lot has really like kind of demolished this whole I'm CEO, I'm director, I'm an executive. I make 6 figures a year. Death doesn't give a shit about that. No, death doesn't give a shit. Death doesn't care. So I don't overestimate people. I've taken care of doctors who are dying. Yeah. Completely the body will do this thing where it when the body's starting to shut down, it and the organs begin to fail, right? The body will begin to stiffen and it enters into fetal position. I've seen that. I'm not gonna say I have PTSD. I have seen some really effed up things, but like I feel like I needed to see it, and I'm glad that I saw it when I did, because dealing with what the reality of what these kids are facing and what they're bringing into these schools and how the system is set up for their future, it would literally make anybody cry and have a nervous breakdown. I'm not even joking. I wish I was over exaggerating, but it's really rough in these streets. And you're lucky if you're able to get your kid into private school, right? But it's rough. It's rough. But anyway, I'm grateful for it though. Because it's definitely working at the hospital cracked something in me that it's like I just have new eyes. Let's just say that. All right, for real this time, I'm getting off. May this message find you well and whole. Let me know how you feel or think about this upload, and be on the lookout for more material next week. Goodbye.